I don't think there's really anything we can do significantly differently in that game. Like, I think that's about it. No foul feast, all champs. Yeah, it was all champs at the end there, because we didn't have them in the upper half of the deck. So Weiheimer. So we've got... This is a matchup where we just want to play, like, early aggression. It might seem... The thing to understand about, like, mulligans and timing is that it might seem very much like you want to take them to the late game. So what you have to think about is whether you can go over them or whether you're going under them, right? It's kind of between those two things. Like, so for example, a few games ago, we were playing against Shadow Owl's Freljord, and we kept Thresh in our opening hand. And the reason we did that is because we are kind of setting up to match their late game. We have no early aggression potential whatsoever against that deck, because it has a lot of stall. It's much more of a kind of like, you know, control deck, and if we set up for the late game, you know, we get our Thresh out, we flip out, and we can kind of like come at them there. Here, it's a little different. In this case, our best bet is trying to push a bit of aggression earlier. Yeah, that's totally fine by me. Our best bet is to push a little aggression earlier, and that's going to mean we don't want to set up. A good way of thinking about that, I like to say you either want to play like a lot faster or a little slower than your opponent. Like, if that makes sense. It's a rule of thumb. It's like, there's plenty of exceptions to that, but what it means is you just want to play like really fast. If they are kind of vulnerable early and you can just go really aggressive, and if they're not, then you want to slow it way down and make sure you can match their late game. Ionia is not a region you can really match their late game for.
Strike hard.
I think I actually want to glimpse the powder keg. It looks like a little bit of a weird play, but we're never gonna get the Withering Wail, like, for 3 damage off. That's like, that will never happen. He will always have a counter response to that, even if it costs him some extra. It's just like too much of a commitment. Like, the best case scenario, we force out to get excited from him, which is actually a pretty good case scenario, but it's not. I don't feel like it will be impactful enough. Yeah, I'd like to develop into this attack. We really need to be pushing more damage on these turns, threatening a bit more.
Be nothing left when I'm done.
The dark beckons.
Okay, so we have an interesting opportunity to Fading Memories the Dread Dredgers into an attack. This is a little weird. So normally how you want to use Fading Memories in this deck is you want to be Fading Memories the Dread Dredgers on defense. You want to use it as a blocker to disincentivize an attack. Unfortunately, his deck does these like elusive things, which means we can't really use it to block. And pushing 2 damage is nice. This might be our last opportunity to get this like early deep thing. I'm gonna try this. We'll see how well this works. But when you look at it like this, it's basically like a Jettison that tosses 3 and does 2 damage instead of tossing 4. I think I like Fading Memories better than Jettison in these sorts of scenarios, but the 2 cards are very replaceable. Like, Jettison is more reliable for sure. This is a scenario where it's not the value it really wants to be. Mostly Fading Memories is better than Jettison when it's threatening a trade or stopping an entire attack. Although this is a matchup where dealing 2 damage to face is pretty welcome. So we have Thresh. 8 away from deep, 8 away from deep. Yeah, it looks pretty good here. I mean, can't block anything he's doing. We have to set up for some slower stuff here, I think. I think I kind of need to play Thresh. I don't think we can go in like really aggressive really early. Another nice thing about Fading Memories is it helps with the Thresh plan. Although, I mean, again, obviously, the Thresh plan is pretty experimental here. It's not something you necessarily want.
What seems to be the problem?
You know what the problem is. Don't even pretend. I mean, I can never kill this card. This card is literally immortal. It's always an open swing.
This'll set them running.
It always is this. So, here we've got a little bit of keg synergy with Thresh. Uh-oh! Here we've got a little keg synergy with Thresh. It's gonna do a pretty good job of keeping this train alive. There is a chance that he'll do something weird and allow us to devour the Heimer. He'd have to do something really weird for that to work. The thing is, like, I can't pass, right? He can always keep mana up. So I always, like, any good player will just pass back to me if I pass. So I can't get him tapped out under. I can devour, and best case scenario, that'll force out like a get excited from him. That's the best case scenario. I'm pretty happy to whale here. Forcing out a deny is actually useful. The reason for that being because we have second whale in hand. If that wasn't the case, forcing out deny would be kind of poo-poo here. But I'm actually okay just whaling this. But again, we can't pass here. The thing is, his deck is forcing us to play first. And that's a really powerful thing in not only Runeterra, but all card games. Like, we have to act first, and he'll always have a counter response because of that. Because he always puts the pressure on us to be ending the game sooner. And this is not a deck that wants to be doing that, or is comfortable doing that in any way, really. So, you have to basically hope he's not drawn the second deny off of that. That's going to be your best chances. I think there's not too much we can do about second deny. I mean, I think I have literally no choice but to Withering Wail and hope his best response is hitting my powder keg. I think there's no way we can beat his second deny here. It's like, I'd like to be cheeky. You could do a salvage burst pass and then hope he's dumb and tap Sunder. That wouldn't make any sense. He's just about to attack here. I mean, I have no choice but to whale and hope he doesn't have second deny. And hey, it's a good whale if he doesn't have second deny. Like, even if he kills our keg, the whale's still fine here. Why not whale when he attacks? If I pass, I think a good player would pass back to me. And then all I'm doing is basically ruining my chances, letting him draw into deny more. It's like, deny or bust in that sort of situation, really. It's just kind of the name of the game at that point. This feels fine. I'll have an answer for this, but it'll be something that's... Ooh. There's a Mega Mind play here. Vile Feasting the Dreg Dredges actually does make some sense. I need the Thresh to level up. He will protect the Thresh. I think it's too powerful. I mean, so you look at the odds of actually killing his card. They're really quite low. He's used what? He's used 1 Twin Disciplines. Deck runs 3 Twin, 2 Spirit's Refuge. Almost all versions of this deck run exactly 2 Spirit's Refuge. I think I have to do this. I think I literally have to do this. We beat a lot by doing this. We beat Thermo. Thermo's so likely for him to have, guys. It's so likely his play is Thermo here. Look at the counter on deep. Look at this. 6 away from deep. Count him. We lost. Well, that card's not fair. Nah.
Yes, yes, again, everything can use an upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, he always has the pass back onto you. It's very possible you actually do have to do like an exploitative pass at 5 mana here and hope he doesn't pass back. That might be your best option. It feels pretty bad either way. Man, every play there is just bad odds. Like, you have a 15 or 20% chance of anything you do with that Vile Feast being successful. Or the pass. Like, all of those have just low odds of doing anything. Man, that feels bad. Violent response to Thermo. Yeah, that might have been better. I was too worried that he would pass back if we passed at 5 mana. The Thermo would be something he would do after we tapped under 5. I don't think he would do that before then. But yeah, I mean, that might have been a slightly wrong call. Yeah. I don't think we have any good options here. Let's just go fish at that point, right? He's got 4 outs to protect Heimer, not including deny. He has 3 outs to stop Thresh. It was 3 whale, right? He has 3 outs to stop Thresh. The best call was to pass at 5 mana. That had to have the highest odds, and then hope he doesn't pass back to us. That would have been best. For sure.
I'll buy some time.
Yeah, I mean, the Heimer's not even doing too much at this point. If anything, the Monk might be a little more of a concern. Why not Vile the Monk or Heim? Wouldn't Thresh evolve and survive Thermo? No, because he won't. He'll stop his card from dying. He can't stop my card from dying, but he can stop his card from dying. And he has 5 outs to do that, right? Or 5 including deny. Assuming deny is at 2, which some of these versions run deny at 3. So his odds of stopping the Vile on my own unit are significantly lower than Vile on his.
Yes, again!
But yeah, I mean, the pass was correct. The pass had to be correct. Will is fine, of course. It's going to destroy super greedy decks. Well, sort of. I mean, it happens to just be lowering like the effective diversity of the game a little bit. I mean, will is a fine concept to exist in the game.
Round and round it goes.
Yeah, I mean, we're out here.
Fast as wind, light as air.
Minor chant of Vile Feasts. That's the only last play we have. I think Will's probably the only card that has a significant negative impact on diversity in its current form. I think it's definitely a concept that needs to exist. The 3 mana discount compared to Vengeance is just slightly too high. It might seem like a weird claim, but if you play in like a lot of Runeterra tournaments, you'll know the feeling of like the possibilities when Ione is banned out, and it's mostly because of Will. You might argue there's like a few larger factors, and it's definitely not the only factor, but it is the biggest. Yeah, that's fine. I think that's a slightly weird play on his part, since I'm tapped out.
Ah, the sweet smell of science.
My best guess is he didn't know that Will would stop my effect from going off. I don't think there's a hand state that could represent. I think he just messed up, would be my guess. Heal for 3. Yeah, no, the heal for 3 is the one thing it could be, but I'm just trying to think, like, it feels like that has a hard time being worth it. I don't know, maybe he's got a hand where as long as he protects Heimer, he's just super good. Which, don't get me wrong, I mean, that is very possible. Seems like you have literally no choice but to play Nautilus here. I mean, there's no fancy play, it's just Nautilus into attempt at Devourer, I think. Nautilus will at least force a decent blocker. He's played 2 Wills. There could be an improvement on like the Heimer archetype, by the way. I don't think the deck is necessarily entirely solved.
Launches at record velocities.
Oh, I think I attack here. I think this attack will force him to tap under the ability to protect his Heimer. I mean, if his card is 3rd Will, then I lose either way. I mean, I guess 3rd Will punishes me less if I just play Devour here, but don't I still lose? Aren't I still just like super not good if his card is 3rd Will? I think I'm super not good if his card is third wheel either way. And that's kind of like an important mentality when you're thinking about, like, especially late game positions. Realize what hands you can play against and what hands you can't, right? That's kind of the most important thing, right? So what that's going to mean is, you know, think about his hand states and don't play around something that you can't beat by playing around it. That's a really, really important mentality. That's like one of the first things I would try to teach, like not a brand new player, but definitely like an intermediate level player. Because that's a very, very common logical bait to play around big impact stuff. So just think, can I actually even win if I play around it, if he has it? And I think quite oftentimes the answer is no. I misplayed with this attack order. But yeah, this is the most important thing we get by attacking first. He's basically saying, with how he's playing, that he needs his Heimer to stay alive. Willing his own Heimer says he has a hand where if he can keep Heimer alive, he wins. And by basically forcing it out, we end up good. It's almost impossible for his Heimer to not die if we attack first, unless his card is Will. It has to be exactly Will. Or maybe Palm, but a lot of these decks aren't running Palm. Okay. I mean, we're always casting this in case we get like a Whale or a Feast. That's a draw. That's a really good draw. Wow. So, I mean, we can't block the elusive. A standard block looks a little something like this, right? So the question is, if we go down to 5, are we just dead to Get Excited Mystic or double Get Excited? Should we use Nautilus's thing now? I think the answer is yes. He hasn't used a single Get Excited or Mystic. Not a single one. I think we have to use this now. Ah, yuck. The buff too. Well, if it's Twin Disciplines, then we can wait for the Twin Disciplines and then use it later, but I think if we were going to 6 health instead of 5, and he had to be on double Get Excited instead of Get Excited Mystic Shot or Get Excited, the odds might swing that, but I can't go down to 5. Five is no good. Deny? Well, yeah, Deny's fine. If he has Deny, then that's an even more specific hand. Then he is Deny Mystic Shot Get Excited, or Deny Get Excited, and I'm fine forcing him to be on a specific 3-card hand, right? Like, he'll still have some odds there. I mean, our open attack is kind of still good here. I would draw Hunters, but it's really vulnerable to a Static Shock. Yeah, there's kind of not enough reason to not play Hoarder here, I guess. Sure. Like, so now we're thinking to ourselves, okay, what kinds of hands could we beat, and what kind of hands do we lose against? Because the thing to understand is not only do you only want to play around hands that you can beat, but you also don't want to play around hands that you beat without playing around, right? You assume a hand state where you lose to it by not playing around it, and you win to it by playing around it, and then you assume that hand state regardless of odds. I shouldn't say regardless, but in favor of odds. Odds matter less than what you can and can't beat by playing around. Very significantly less, actually. So the question is, do you develop or open? Rule of thumb, against this kind of deck, you should develop. They run a lot of spells at fast speed, so they can like survive lethal in ways at fast speed, and you want to be able to use your mana. So, I mean, we kind of have to be developing here. We don't really have any way. So what's a hand we can't beat? Really rare triple Get Excited hand. That's a hand we can't beat. Sure. I'm not too worried about a lot of other things. I think you pretty much just need to threaten the lethal you can here. That's probably Thresh, I think. So there's a few different plays here. It looks really tempting to Dead Bloom, because of course you get the toss and the treasures, but there's no treasure that is incredibly impactful here in terms of winning. Jawl is a consideration. You get a sea monster, which can make your attack a little bit better, but usually the challenger doesn't go through. You basically want something that's going to be able to represent a full lethal amount, right? So here's a big problem. A big problem is if you play... Okay, so let's say we play Dead Bloom Wanderer. We just put a 3-attack unit on the board. And then he develops a chump that will block one of our big dudes. He's at 5 health, so that means that he'll just let the Dead Bloom Wanderer hit him, and all he needs to do then is, like, stop one of my attacks to survive. That's really easy for him to do, right? So what we want to do is get a bigger attack and force him lower on options in a way that can't be low enough value to hit the lethal and can't be countered by removal by being Jaw Hunters. And that means Thresh, basically. So we're looking out for maybe like second Refuge at this point is kind of most likely. I think the attack here looks good. Jaw has Challenger though. Yes, but if I play Jaw and then his play is, let's say, Static Shock, then the Challenger doesn't go through. We're just opening up more hands to beat us. Like, we don't necessarily get to attack with Jaw after playing Jaw. No way. Not a chance. Is this guy serious? The 6-card hand? The triple get excited? He has 18 cards left in his deck. Easy emote. I didn't equip the Ezreal emote, guys. I'll equip it after this game. It's the best Ezreal emote. Yeah. I keep forgetting.
The sea does not forget.
But yeah, just think about probability. Think about what plays you can beat and what plays you can't beat. The last game, the one right before this, I know the Vile Feast on my own unit looked really, really weird. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't correct. Like I said, we should have passed at 5 mana. But I can tell you, I'm pretty certain, Vile Feasting my own unit was better than Vile Feasting his Heimer. By a little bit. I think that's true. But yeah, it was supposed to be the pass at 5 mana. And the reason for that is just because of, like, the probabilities. It's just because of how likely he is to have each specific thing. It's like... the death trigger is a little too important there.